The online media category recognizes exemplary investigative work by any Canadian media outlet published or broadcast exclusively online. There are 4 finalists in this category. The first finalist is Jian Lum, whose entry, Nowhere to Turn, was published by HuffPost Canada. With a single ruling in a custody case, a judge undid the work that had been done to relocate and protect a woman who'd escaped an abusive home and run in fear of losing her life. Lum's piece explains all the hard work that had been done to protect the woman and set her on a path for a safe new life. It then gets reaction and attempts to seek accountability for how one judge was able to expose confidential information with no apparent regard for what that secrecy was protecting. Our next finalist is Gareth Charter, a freelancer whose Canada's Missing Syrians piece was published by opencanada.org. Charter looks at where Canada lies in its commitments to have tens of thousands of refugees escape the ongoing conflict in Syria, almost 3 years after the government making these promises took office. While 50,000 Syrian refugees have arrived since 2015, this entry introduces readers to several who were given the promise of making a new start in Canada, but are still waiting, in the Middle East, to take the first meaningful steps on that journey. The third finalists are John Milton, Aaron Cedar, and Ethan Cox of Ricochet Media, with their entry Fire Force Ventures. Their work looks at an online store peddling merchandise that commemorates various historical military items, in particular those associated with the Cold War conflict in Zimbabwe, then known as Rhodesia. The work led to one of the store's founding partners leaving the business, the United Conservative Party in Alberta disassociating itself from that same person, and the suspension of several members of the Canadian forces who were associated with the business. Fire Force continues to say its business is military history, not politics. The final nominee is Vice News Canada's Hilary Beaumont, with her entry on how Parliament Hill's weak anti-harassment policies and toxic culture are failing women. As Me Too reached Parliament Hill and victims started sharing their experiences of harassment and abuse, Beaumont did groundbreaking work looking at what protections, if any, Hill staffers have to complain about their working conditions or abuse, which she revealed, as Parliament was working on legislation to bring political staffers under existing protections for federal employees, led to commitments by one party to align its policies with that legislation. The work was also credited in committee as the legislation was being vetted.